the dialogue, the exchanges that we must have because of the importance of the many issues we have in front of us. This is my first visit, and it had a very clear technical emphasis. The continuity of the operation of the agency's equipment here, which is indispensable for us to provide the necessary guarantees and the information to the IAEA and to the world that everything is in order and that we are going to be able to assist Iran in its future negotiations in the context of.
Well, let's get some analysis now on what all of this means for the Iranian nuclear deal by bringing in Ali Vaez. He's in Washington and he's the Crisis Group's Iran Project Director. Ali Vaez, thanks for being with us here on at TRT World. So does this agreement to share and change out the memory cards in those surveillance cameras in nuclear facilities push forward the possibility of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action coming back?
Well, this is a related issue to the JCPOA. The most important factor here was that without at least a semblance of Iran cooperating with the IAEA on its minimum degree of commitments on safeguards agreements, because there are some outstanding questions about Iran's past nuclear activities that Iran has not answered to for the past 3 years. And again, related to that was this issue of cameras and IAEA's ability to continue, at least to preserve some continuity of knowledge about Iran's nuclear activities. Without a minimum level of cooperation, it was possible that next week at the IAEA's Board of Governors meeting that there would be a censure resolution against Iran. And then that could derail the possibility of getting back to the negotiating table in October to discuss and see if there is a way to revive the JCPOA. So at least this agreement for now defers the possibility of a resolution next week and increases the possibility of resumption of JCPOA negotiations in October.
Just an incremental step. And it's worth, I think, Ali, just reminding our viewers how we sort of reached this point. Now, everyone's understanding is that the P5+1 believed that Iran was in compliance with the JCPOA up until Trump withdrew the United States from that. Is that how this began? Because there has then been a slide of Iran falling out of compliance with a number of its actions, correct?
That is correct. Yes, Iran, according to 15 IAEA reports, was fully complying with its commitments under the JCPOA until 1 year after President Trump withdrew from the deal. And that's when Iran started to gradually and in a reversible manner, basically reduce its commitments with the JCPOA. But again, the problem with safeguards agreement was an issue that developed in parallel. And the Iranian fear is that basically because a lot of the information about Iran's past nuclear activities came from documents that Israel stole from Iran in 2018, that if Iran starts engaging the IAEA on this issue, it becomes a slippery slope. It becomes a never-ending investigation. And so it wants a political agreement first on the JCPOA before it addresses the technical agreement with the IAEA. But again, the problem is that these issues are interconnected, and any action at the board to penalize Iran for its safeguards lack of cooperation could also have affected the JCPOA. But again, I think this is a minimal level of agreement that you could reach to at least defer a crisis and buy more time and space for diplomacy.
And Ali Vaez, finally, you have been involved in discussions of the JCPOA. I mean, what's your opinion of where that agreement stands at this stage? Iran out of compliance, the US not willing to remove sanctions. Is that original agreement that was signed now completely finished? Does a new agreement have to be formatted?
The deal is really hanging by a thread, and I would argue that if negotiations do not resume in October or both parties fail to demonstrate more flexibility when they get back to the table, I doubt that the JCPOA could survive more than end of 2021. And if it collapses, then the question is, whether the parties would want to get back to a cycle of mutual escalation before they're ready to get back to the negotiating table, or can they at least reach an interim agreement to freeze that cycle of escalation and buy more time and space for diplomacy. The reality is that restoring the JCPOA, while it requires painful compromises, remains the least costly option for both sides.
Yeah, we'll see what they decide to do. Ali Vaez from the Crisis Group, thank you very much for being with us.